Good morning. I shouldn't be nervous. This is my third time up here, but I am. Those of you that don't know me, my name is Lisa Robles Luna. This is part 3 of my testimony. 2018 was not a good year for my family. I had back surgery. I had rotator cuff surgery. And most of all, my husband decided to take a venture with meth. It'd been going on for a while, but I closed a blind eye and it just got worse and worse. In 2018, towards the middle, it was terrible. But all I could do was pray. I prayed God to figure out how to keep us safe, how to take care of my son, because as you all know, Jordan has autism and he needs a routine and he needs quiet and peace, and that's not what he was getting at my house. Our silence grew to yelling. Our yelling grew to an out-and-out boxing match, and I was the end receiver of that. I didn't win, not one. And I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed to come to church. I was embarrassed to go to work. I was embarrassed just in general, embarrassed. My son was being turned inside out, and I didn't know what to do. So I prayed a little harder, and I prayed that something would grab Abe to make him stop doing the meth and give me the strength to buck up and be a grown-up, put my big girl panties on and say enough's enough. But I didn't know how to leave him after 12 years of being with him. Through my son's death, my dad's death, through everything, this man has been there. And my thought was, nobody left me when I went on my venture with drugs, so how can I leave him? So my house was falling apart, and all I could do was pray to God that he didn't destroy it, that I should say we, it wasn't just him, I stayed. So we didn't destroy it. And my husband, don't get it wrong, because he's an amazing father, an amazing husband, but he was no longer there. It was the meth that was taking over. So I just prayed even harder. I prayed for God to guide me in the correct steps, because I knew what the next step was. I just needed the Lord God to guide me and give me the courage to actually do it. So I did. I went down to the court. I filed a PFA against my husband after 12 years and had him removed from my home. And I prayed to God that my son wouldn't hate me, because he didn't understand. He just knew that I was taking his dad. The court did allow him visitation as long as he got clean UAs, because I wasn't trying to keep him from my son. So I prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed that he would get clean UAs. The first couple of them was not clean, so Jordan waited at the door for nothing. I prayed that something, once again, would save our family and bind us back together. I prayed how to figure out how to pay the mortgage. I prayed for God to guide me that I didn't end up on the street because of the decision that I had just made. I didn't make enough money to handle my house by myself, so I wasn't sure what I was going to do. And God led me to just pray some more, and I prayed. I gave him all of my heart, and, all of a sudden the bills started getting paid. I mean, I had enough money on my check. I had enough hours. I got a second job. My mom moved in with me to handle Jordan and to help me with Jordan, so we started getting back on a regular routine. Until June 15th. On June 15th, I went in for a regular procedure to have a cyst removed from my groin area. He did it in the office. He said everything went fine. I went home, picked up Jordan from school, went home, started dinner, and that was the last thing I remember. I sat on a couch, and next thing I know, Jordan is trying to wake me up. Our house is on fire. I tried to get up, and I fell, and there was blood, just everywhere. I'd never seen so much blood, and Jordan freaked out. I couldn't get up. I could hear him, but I was fading in and out of consciousness, and all I could see was the smoke. So my Jordan called my brother. My brother called 911 and raced across town to get me. Jordan has been told never to open the door to strangers because he will let you in. And so we have adamantly told him, do not open the door. So he wouldn't let my brother in. So my brother had to kick in the door. He checked on me. He his girlfriend took Jordan because at this point Jordan's hitting himself and biting himself and just very agitated. And so my brother stops dinner from catching on fire and the rest of the house, drags me out of the house, and there's just blood everywhere, and we're waiting for the ambulance. I get to the hospital, and I had lost so much blood that I had to have blood given to me. They gave me pain meds, and the pain meds sent me into a major seizure. My daughter finally made it there, and they told her to call my son to prepare because they did not think that I was going to make it the next 24 hours. I had lost so much blood. They worked on me and worked on me. Come to find out that the doctor had cut an artery and sent me home, and I was bleeding to death. I was bleeding out. They had told my brother if he would not have found me when he did, I would have been dead in less than 20 minutes. So I ended up in the hospital for 7 days on that trip. But meanwhile, Abe passed away, and he showed up at the house to get Jordan. And what's he find? A pool of blood on the porch, a broken-in door, and blood all over my house, and the stove wide open, and he was freaked out. He called my brother and sister to try to figure out where I was, and they didn't know. So he freaked them out because they were in Kansas City. He tried to get a hold of my brother, but because he was back in the ER with me, his phone didn't work. So he searched for me and Jordan for hours, thinking that something bad had happened. And so he finally called the police, and the only information that they were allowed to give him is that an ambulance was sent to the house. Meanwhile, I'm praying because I had never been so scared in my life. I'm praying that God would see me through this because I didn't see a way out. I prayed harder than I ever prayed. I prayed for Jordan to be okay. I prayed for the doctors that were working on me, that if this was my time, that my kids would be okay and that I would be okay. But I begged him not to. I didn't feel my journey was done. So they did end up fixing everything. Meanwhile, Abe shows up at the hospital, and they had told him that I was very, very lucky to be alive. One good thing came out of that day, that God saved me in many, many, many ways that day. Not only my life, but he renewed my faith in miracles. He renewed my faith in Abe. He renewed my faith, and that was the thing that opened Abe's eyes. June 15th was the last time Abe used meth. He's been clean since. We are currently not living together. He lives in his own place. Me and Jordan live in ours. I told him that I just felt our relationship would do better if we put God first and took a break from us. And, when it was time, we would know. And it's not time yet. And we currently have changed all of our priorities. God is first. He shows up at my house at 6 o'clock in the morning. We wake up Jordan and we do a prayer session. We now make time for God, because that was my thing, is I've been up here so many times and testifying in the miracles that he's worked in my life. But then I get busy. And I'm putting the kids down, and I'm trying to figure out this and trying to do this for my client, trying to do that for me. And I got a list of errands, and the day is just not long enough. And I forgot. I forgot to give thanks in the morning, give thanks at night. I forgot. I'll do it in a minute. And then I fall asleep, and there was no prayer. And I started getting my son in that routine as well. And I realized that's not the way to live. Now we make sure that we have prayer in the morning, prayer at night. We give praise and thanks for whatever we have in front of us, the money, everything. We give praise to God first. Me and Abe are currently working on our relationship. Let me explain something right now if you don't know. Mexican males are very macho. You walk behind your man, and it's not putting a woman down. That is the way we're raised. I walk behind my man at all time. The man is king. He says how things are going to go in the house. And I'll be, if he ever would go to counseling or therapy. But that was part of the agreement. For us to be together, we had to go to family counseling. We had to go to couples counseling. And we were blessed that we got a counselor that is a pastor's wife. So we put God first in everything we do. Every aspect of our life, we have changed and put our priorities together. We now are ahead. Never have we ever been ahead. We are ahead in mortgage. We are ahead in gas. We are ahead in all of my medical bills. I have credit on everything, the water, everything. In 2017, I got my car repossessed because Abe wasn't working and we fell behind. Someone helped me because someone helped her. So she paid it forward, and she helped me get my car and back on the road so that I could go to work. This year, I was blessed to be able to pay it forward to someone else and told them, you know, when you get a chance, when you get back on your feet, please pay it forward and, you know, spread the word of God, because this is only by God's grace that I was able to do this, you know. And I just want to say, in the darkest of this time, when I thought I was going to die, when my husband was beating the crap out of me and bones should have been broken, I mean, he's thrown me down steps, everything. In the pit of our darkness, God left me to pray. He was the light in my darkness. He has been my glory for everything. And I thank God for all the blessings that I have received. And, you know, our priorities are now together. And for that, I give thanks. And I guess that's the message that I wanted to say. Even in the dark of dark, you have light. If you just keep that hope and prayer. And by praise, prayer, and faith, you'll make it through.